folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys present Tales of the Trophies, the Big Ten's greatest rivalries. How's everyone doing this week? It is the longest day of the year. Got an actual hour of sleep in there, but I actually slept like crap. So I'm a little tired today. I'm a little down, boys. Maybe it's just the impending doom. This, like I said, it's the worst. I hate this Sunday. It gets dark super early. And even though we get the extra hour of sleep, like that's fine. But whenever it's dark in 2 hours, I'm gonna be
it's starting. No, we're good. We had a few upsets this weekend. We had a lot of changing. The rankings just came out, so we had a few interesting changes that I'm sure we'll get into. So that'll be fun to talk about. But overall, good.
Yeah, and all things considered, especially considering what happened to me yesterday, I feel fantastic.
It's gonna be okay.
I'm very excited for this episode. I mean, it is an episode that I've been talking about to you guys since we began. It's episode 13. 13 just happens to be my lucky number. I mean, this is going to be a hog of an episode, an absolute hog.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. And so let's segue into that. Our drink this week, we took a different angle than we have in the past.
Funny angle?
It was a funny angle, but I think it works out. So, Joe, what are we drinking today?
Well, I want to start off. I just want to welcome Mike and I want to welcome you to the Lost Club. Your team was the only team undefeated, so welcome. Great to have you. All right, so the drink this week, we did change a little bit. We usually stick to kind of geography, stick to our AOR that where the game's going to be held in or who's playing in it. This one we kind of changed it up just because we had a few weeks with drinks that came from these areas already. So not much that we can do separate from that. So we are doing the breakfast shot turned cocktail this week. So everyone's probably familiar with the breakfast shot. So the breakfast shot is Jameson or any Irish whiskey that you prefer. And then you're going to mix that with butterscotch schnapps. And then you shoot it. And then you follow it with OJ and usually bacon, but if you've got it. So what we did was we kind of tweaked it and we made we mixed up the schnapps and the Jameson, put it over ice. So we have Jameson and butterscotch schnapps over ice. And what we'll do is we'll just, I guess, sip it. And then we have a glass of OJ that is paired with some bacon there. So
there you go,
I think
boys.
What we'll do is we'll just we'll sip it, and as you take the sip, a little mini shot of the cocktail, then you will just follow it with OJ. So kind of our own little take on it.
Yeah. Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
So I did something, as we discussed before we got on the pod, just a touch different. So I just mixed a little bit of whiskey with OJ. And put a little bit of maple syrup in there. And just, I kind of shook that up. I strained it. I mean, it's good. It's not bad. I'll tell you that. But I want to try this one because I do like I'm not a big schnapps guy, obviously, but I feel like that's something that really makes the drink. And I didn't have any. So that's about, the little bit of maple syrup, a little bit of sweetness. I put some in the hair. What do you think keeps it slicked back?
Oh, is that way? It's slicked back? I thought that was pushback.
Yeah. Oh, this isn't pushback. This is slick back. It slicks back real nice.
For anyone that's not familiar, I know that sounds like crazy to put like butterscotch schnapps together with Jameson and orange juice, but what it ends up tasting like if you've never had a breakfast shot is once you combine all three into your mouth, it tastes like syrup. So it gives you a nice like pancakey.
Yeah. So how was that there, fellas? Like how
delicious.
It tastes just like I remembered.
Yeah, it's a little different than if you were to shoot it all at once, but you're kind of getting the same concept. And EJ's right; it's supposed to taste like maple syrup drizzled pancakes. That's what you get from that shot. So it's good. It's a little different, but not ideal for a cocktail with two different glasses and mixing them up. But it's still great.
So the last time Joe and I had this drink together was when I lived in one of my old apartments in an area that has a few bars walkable. So we went to brunch, like a mimosa type brunch. It was like a penny brunch.
Ted's?
No, this was
next door.
Cyclone Anaya's. Did you ever go to Cyclone?
I think it closed actually.
Yeah.
It's closed.
Yeah. I did go to Cyclone Anaya's.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Guys. Yeah.
So
I think it was actually Joe's birthday or something. while we went there.
Maybe. I don't remember.
Maybe.
It was someone's.
It was someone something.
Yeah, it was someone something. Yeah.
So the last time Joe and I did this was we went to brunch. Everything was fine. We were all feeling good. Our wives were, enjoying their drinks as well. So as we were leaving, Joe and I still weren't like too drunk yet. So we're like, oh, why don't we take a shot? And, it was brunch. So we're like, let's do a breakfast shot. And we didn't really understand how drunk our wives were, because then we started to walk back to my apartment, and you have to walk by a few different shops. And one of them was Francesca's. So our wives proceeded
It's like a
to
women's like jewelry and clothing.
Yeah,
People
clothing
know-
store.
Yeah.
So they went in and bought like $20 bracelets that have like earth from like a volcano
like
and
sea salt
water,
or water or something.
and bought dresses that weren't the right size. Like it was just a bit of a mess. And then Joe's wife ended up leaving her phone at the bar. It was a
Nice.
whole
In the bathroom, yep.
fiasco. So that was the last time that Joe and I have enjoyed this drink together.
She'll really appreciate this story being told on here too.
Well, now we're going to see if they're actually listening or not, because
Yeah,
There you
they're
go.
not
That's
saying
the
anything.
test. That's the test.
But yeah. Okay. So why don't we then segue, and you'll understand why breakfast and bacon makes sense once we get into the trophy aspect of this episode. But before we get to that, which I don't know if I've said before, I'm really excited for, why don't we talk about, unfortunately, what happened yesterday in college football. And we kind of said it last week. On paper, it didn't look like we'd get a lot. And we also made the comment that meant we would get a lot. And
we
boy, did
manifested.
we get a lot.
We manifested this week because we said, it looks like there's not a lot of great games on the schedule. Maybe some things here and there. I mean, it was exciting from top to bottom. I think that when we look at, obviously, well, EJ, you can go first if you want. If we want to lead off with upsets, we can, because there's
Sure.
a lot of teams that got tested. Bama, Ohio State, Cincinnati, all face tough challenges this week against unranked opponents. At Bama, at least it was, a rival with Coach O on the way out, trying to knock off the Tide, whom he hates. But Sparty.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned to you guys leading up last week, and I was nervous about it. Purdue had enough pieces to make it a game at home. They had a top 10 scoring defense. It was really been their offense that had been inconsistent, and kind of why they had been sitting at 3 losses. And boy, did that offense click. Only took playing Michigan State's defense to get them right. But
That's not necessarily true. They had a great game against Iowa.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't know if did the offense do well, or was it like Iowa turnovers? I didn't.
Yeah, that's the one where I told you guys they had the 3 quarterback rotation,
Yeah.
and they were moving the ball. It wasn't just all defense.
Yeah.
And I think what's the receiver's name?
Bell.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
had like 200 yards in that game as well, like he
Yeah.
did yesterday. So
Yeah, it was just one of those games where, and I feel like this always happens when you have a top 10 like upset or a top 5 upset, is the team that does the upsetting has to play nearly perfect. And Purdue did. Hats off. They
Yeah.
had maybe 10 yards of penalties. They only had 1 turnover, and they looked really good. And unfortunately for the Spartans,
EJ, you said Mel even showed them being like, these are all the team. These are the number of times that Purdue is knocked off. Like how they got there.
it's out there. Yeah. They mentioned it multiple times in the broadcast.
Well, but
Yeah.
Mel showed it to the team this week, right? Like he
Yeah.
was like, guys, like
this
are
honestly,
going to get upset this week. It is happening.
buckle up, boys.
I feel like sometimes it happens is like you underestimate a team, and that's why you know
Right.
trap games, and then other times you just get beat. And honestly, again, I felt a little better during the week because I knew we weren't taking them lightly. Just unfortunately, they literally they beat us. They played fantastic. There's really nothing else I can say. Like
It sounded
we had 100 yards and penalties, and that's probably what was the difference. Like they played fantastic.
And as a neutral onlooker, there were some questionable calls in that game. There was, I think, a targeting call. I think there was what was the other one I mentioned during the game? But
Unnecessary roughness. It was
Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was a lineman tackled their quarterback who was going down. He had no choice whether he was going to tackle him or not. He was already going in for the hit, and the guy happened to fall, so he hit his head. That stuff you can't avoid. But at the same time, just like weeks ago or last week when Michigan had a few penalties that I didn't necessarily agree with, but you can't put yourself in that position where they affect the game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where for the Spartans, their defense has been really bad, giving up yardage, but they've been really good in the red zone, right? They've given up a ton between the 20s, but when it comes to the red zone, they've forced teams to kick too many field goals. And this game, it caught up to them because Purdue didn't. They scored touchdowns on like their first 5 or 6 trips to the red zone, and that was the difference, and that was something Purdue had struggled with. So it seemed like before the week it would be an advantage to Michigan State. Like we kind of expected them to move the ball, especially with Bell. It was fantastic. O'Connell looked fantastic as well. The other 2 quarterbacks only played 2
Yeah, I
other
saw that.
snaps.
Yeah, that was surprising
because he was so good. They were dumb. It was stupid when they put in the other guys because he was just cooking. But
to borrow
Purdue.
Sabanism, this was definitely a little bit of rat poison. You guys come off, Sparty beats Michigan and then gets ranked number 3. And I appreciate Mel Tucker doing what he was doing, saying like, guys, like we are walking into a trap here, but sometimes this matter. I mean, players, you do what you can as a coach, but sometimes like that stuff gets into your head. And
I don't know if that was the right call to call it out and show them. I mean, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, maybe it wouldn't have made a difference, but I don't know if I would have put that in their heads to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, well,
I think it's the other because it was just a trap game. Like everyone said it was a trap game. The Vegas said it was a trap game. I think it was just the fact that
it showed the spread too.
His point was right. His point was it's not. We're not. This isn't a trap game. They're a very good team. Like I think that was what he was trying to get his point across. But you're right. Maybe he did sow a little bit of doubt. I don't know. They played well.
Yeah,
they played decent. They when Purdue could have knocked us out a few times, and I was pleasantly surprised that we did fight. We definitely didn't. This could have been 40-10 very easily, but ultimately it doesn't matter. Like a loss is a loss, and honestly, maybe it's a good thing that we had this loss. Then we can rebuild or rebound next week against Maryland, and then we have the 2 big dogs to finish the year, Penn State, Ohio State. So
I know when we went to dinner. EJ and I went to dinner this week, and you were saying like this, you were nervous. You're like, I know that there's a loss coming.
And I will say, if I'm a Purdue fan, I will be sick to my stomach if they don't finish the season, because the way that they played, like now as like an independent party, like I expect them to make a run in the West now. I mean, they right up there.
2 top 5 wins this year.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where they
just need to play top 5 teams every week.
Every week, yeah.
That team playing that way will beat good teams, but they haven't been consistent enough. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it was tough. I knew losses were coming. I was hoping they would only be to Penn State and Ohio State, but maybe we steal one of those 2.
And I mean, speaking of losses, like it was a bloodbath yesterday for ranked teams. Like Minnesota to Illinois looked bad. Baylor to TCU, that was a shocker. I thought Baylor was a freaking lock there.
Yeah, I bet that.
Kentucky, Mississippi State. It was just a bloodbath. And then Bama, Ohio State, Cincinnati all barely survived. The only team that I think had a statement win, when we talk about the statement wins this week, the only team that I think has statement win would be A&M.
Yeah.
Not just on the field, beating Auburn, but
Auburn had 3 points.
Massive day recruit.
Yeah.
They got Walter Nolan, the number 1 ranked recruit in the upcoming class, walked up to Jimbo at midfield pregame and said, I'm committing to A&M. And then shortly after that, Chris Marshall, who's a top 100 wide receiver, I think he's number 6 receiver in the class, committed as well. So now A&M is the number 6 class overall. So it was just a massive day for the Aggies.
I mean, but the thing with the Aggies especially since Jimbo's been there, their classes have been top 10. It's time for them to turn that into, and they beat Alabama. So maybe they get lucky and Alabama will lose one more and they're in the driver's seat to get to the SEC championship. But, I feel like A&M and Jimbo have it's time for them to really move now, because he's had a few years. They've had great classes. But it's interesting. Maybe the SEC West isn't as locked up as we had thought coming down the road.
Is that? I don't know. I guess. Oh yeah. Hold on 1 second, because I thought. Let me just see. And Bama certainly controls their destiny, but it is.
Yeah, but if they lose one more, they don't. That's
Right.
where, yeah.
A&M
So if they were to,
takes it,
that's
yeah.
what like a lot of the broadcasters were talking about when they were watching the Bama LSU was like, oh,
Mhm.
if Bama drops one, then it's A&M, you know, or if Bama loses to Auburn or whatever. They were kind
We
of.
go to freaking Auburn.
This has
this year,
just been,
too.
yeah, this has just been one of those years that no one's talked about the SEC West in the scenarios in
Yeah.
years, right? And this is the first
I'll tell
time
you what.
in a while.
And I
there's
know
scenarios.
EJ, you've said that, you know, Bryce Young is going to run away with the Heisman. I mean, that offense looked terrible yesterday.
Did
I
it?
mean, I think Bill O'Brien is now firmly number one of assistant coaches I hate. I mean, it's going to be hard to pass up Pete Golding because
I was
he's
gonna say,
been an
even Pete
institution.
Golding.
Top two are
of-
on your team.
He's been an institution of suck for so long. But like Bill O'Brien, that offense looked terrible yesterday. Terrible. I know that, you know, everyone's trying to win one for Coach O, and you know, it's just funny, man. Like I used to be a big Coach O fan, but now I can't freaking stand the guy. Like all this stuff coming out about like him and like the stuff with the like why he's being let go,
Yeah.
and then just, you know, so.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I sent you guys this text, but I'll share this with the listeners. It was crazy for me in 2015. So that was when the Spartans made it to the playoff and unfortunately drew Alabama and, you know, lost 35-0 or whatever.
Oh
that
yeah,
finished.
share this. I
But
didn't even realize this.
What I didn't realize at the time was someone posted online the list of assistant coaches that were part of that 2015 team for Alabama, and it included, so obviously Nick Saban, but then it included Lane Kiffin, who's obviously been, you know, a top echelon coach now at Ole Miss. It had Mel Tucker was their DB coach. It had who's the guy that's
Loxley was there, and who's now
Loxley.
coaching at Maryland.
It had the
Obviously,
guy from
so the offensive
Lafayette.
coordinator was Lane, the defensive coordinator was Kirby.
Yeah, so
Loxley
Kirby
was there.
Smart.
Mel Tucker
And the Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns.
Oh yeah, and Billy Napier. Yeah.
Billy, yeah. So it was just like crazy to see that all of those guys were like on. And I know Alabama's had some, usually has big name coaches like, you know, Bill O'Brien like now, but just to see
that's big.
some of the young up and coming coaches that have really come into their own that were on that staff, like makes me feel, and the team itself was ridiculous, but then you couple those two together and I don't feel as bad about that loss now.
Yeah. And then now freaking Bill O'Brien. You know what's gonna be funny is if Coach O ends up on the staff somehow. I could see that happening.
Yeah,
Be like our linebacker coach.
That'd be interesting. All right, guys, do you have anything else you want to add to this recap before we move on?
Move on to what?
We're going to move on to the betting shoutouts.
Yes, I do. The big one that I watched some of that game is that Wake UNC game.
Okay. Oh yeah, let's talk about
they were up. Wake was up 45-27 in the third quarter.
Yeah,
and they couldn't close that game out.
Yeah.
So that is tough to watch.
Well, you know what? I was kicking myself too, Joe, because I saw the line. I think the line was at 3.5 when I saw it. Wake was getting 3.5, and I was like, oh, that feels like a lock. And but I was like, well, I don't know. I didn't feel like betting it, and then it moved to 3. And I'm like, all right, I'm definitely going to stay away. And yeah, I guess it ended up being a good. I wouldn't have lost anything, but still.
So I that was my only win for betting.
You took North Carolina?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I took North Carolina, and I can't take credit for it because there's a Detroit sports radio guy that I listen to, and he usually gives his bets every day. And he has this rule, and it worked again. But when he saw a top 10 team on the road underdog to an unranked team, he always takes that underdog home team. So when he sees an unranked home favorite against a top 10 team, that just seems wonky, and he just takes it immediately. And I was feeling really terrible about that when Joe said in the third quarter it was like 45-27, but you know, all of a sudden I turned the TV back on and they pulled it off. So it
yeah, I caught the last 55-58 was, or 58-55. I caught the last 30 minutes of that, and that's not a game that I would usually turn on or tune into.
Yeah.
But when I saw that it was like that close and then they tied it up 55-55, I was like, This is going to be a fun one. So,
Yeah.
And I also, what's his name? Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
I kind of like to track him from QB1 and
Yeah.
kind of
I
those
loved
guys.
his story there. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
That was a great series. I haven't watched it. Are they still putting out new episodes of that?
I don't know. Let's check.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was one that we watched. I think Justin Fields was on it, and
That was the Tate Martell season too, wasn't it?
I
Or
don't
no,
think
Tate
it was.
Martell was the first
Martell.
season. It was Fields.
This was season 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was Fields and Hartman and
The guy from Iowa State.
the guy
from
that DJ.
Bosco.
Yeah, from St. John Bosco.
Yep.
Yeah, DJ took
Purdy?
over for him. Yeah.
I don't know if I don't remember his name, but
No, I forget his name.
I don't even know if he's still playing, to be honest.
Mm-mm. I don't think so. Well, not for Iowa State.
Yeah, true. Okay, great. Why don't we go into our talk about our bets here? So I just want to congratulate Doyle, our listener, our avid listener.
Who's now allowed to bet.
He is. So this was a
He
very
has been
exciting
released.
weekend for him in Florida. They finally passed the law, and there's, I think, only one book right now that you can use, sports book. But he had taken Missouri to cover against Georgia, and they barely snuck it in there. So
He needed this after Eichel getting traded. He's a diehard Sabres fan, sent us a picture of a big old Eichel jersey that is framed on his wall. It's like, well, what do I do with this now?
yeah.
So
Sell to Vegas.
Well, really, I mean, the highlight of his wall in my book was the Aaron Sorkin autographed pilot episode of The West Wing. That's
So I don't want to kick him while he's down from that Eichel trade, but his Bills, we're currently recording right now during Sunday football. The Bills are still tied with the Jacksonville Jaguars 6-6.
And Trevor Lawrence was injured.
He came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a tough go too. So he had gotten one of those free bets, the free 100 bets, and he did a 2-leg parlay in hockey. And the first leg hit, and that was like the underdog, and he was really set up well for the second part. And then they ended up
Who was it? Do you remember?
so
St. Louis.
So he needed St. Louis to beat the Kings was the second part, and the Kings end up having this huge comeback, winning in overtime. But he
Holy
had
cow.
picked,
Went to a shootout, I think, right?
yeah, went to a shootout.
I woke
and
up to those texts and just laughed.
Yeah, he stayed up for it too. Like he stayed up to like 12:30 because it was like $100 that would have went to like 500 or 600. So he in the first game, I forgot who he picked, but he picked a pretty decent. It was like the Blue Jackets to beat the Oilers or something like that. Like he had picked a pretty good upset to begin with, and it started off great. And then Joe and I kind of joked because obviously we've all been there, right? Where you think something, you get
I've been there this week.
the easy, you get the hard part of the leg done, and then you think you're golden, and you get disappointed.
I had one of those $300 bets when Barcel Sportsbook started in Pennsylvania, and it was like $100 free bet, right? And it was I did a big parlay to win like $10,000 or something, and I lost. The Steelers were playing the Broncos, I think, and James Conner was on the team, and he like broke what, like I had the Steelers by like 5.5, and they ended up winning by 4 or so. It's something like that.
Yeah.
But James Conner broke a run, but he was like,
I remember
injured.
this.
So
I
he,
do.
yeah.
I do
He
remember
had
this.
wide open. It had been Najee or just a fully healthy James Conner, he would have broken it the whole way.
He got
scored.
tackled at like the 10 or something like that. Yeah. I remember
and
that.
the Steelers just kneeled it out. I'm like, just put it in the freaking end zone or
Yeah,
kick the field goal.
That's the worst when you're like 1 or 2 points away and then time is running out and there's no reason for them to score.
Yeah.
Like I vividly remember that. Like the broadcast, as soon as he hits the hole, you don't see anyone. And then all of a sudden, you could tell again, he wasn't as fast as he used to be. And then all of a sudden, or he was hurt, like you said. And then all of a sudden you just see a couple defenders come into screen and you're like, oh no.
It freaking, it crushed me. It crushed me.
All right. So everyone remember, I mean, I don't want to make this a downer, but like college football is damn near over. So please, this is our last chance to start to bet.
3 more
Please send
weeks.
us your bets.
Bowl season. Where
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true. We
Mhm.
still got some bowl season.
Bet
We
on
get like
every
that
game.
4-week hiatus or whatever until the bowls start. So yes. So please remember to send us your bets on Saturday morning. Sharing is caring. let's all win together these last few weeks.
Yeah, let's do it here. Let's put our hands in.
Okay, guys. So what games are we looking forward to this weekend in addition to the Floyd of Rosedale game?
I think everybody knows my game. My game's Michigan, Penn State. There was a key injury though against Indiana yesterday.
I saw that.
Oh, what happened?
Blake Corum went out of the game. It looked like an ankle, maybe.
Oh,
I didn't hear what the status was.
He was carted off, wasn't he?
I didn't see a cart. He walked off the field. He may have been carted to the locker room, but I didn't see that.
I think he got carted.
No.
So I don't know his status, but Haskins carried the load there, and also Donovan Edwards, the freshman. I think he's 5-star. He also didn't play yesterday, so I don't know what I didn't even know he was hurt or what happened with him. So hopefully one of those two are at least ready to go. But Haskins is more than capable, but it will be interesting to see because you never know what Penn State team you're going to get. They've been kind of so hot and cold this year. Michigan's got a lot to prove.
And do we know if that's a night game yet? Have they decided?
It says noon right now, but it could change, I guess.
If it's noon, then
it's going to stay.
Yeah. If they've already decided, so I wonder. That's always a tough place to play. I think at least you avoided the night whiteout. Yeah. It looks like because that makes it even.
Yeah, my brother was actually thinking about going. I'm wondering if I'll have to hit him up and see if he's going.
Yeah, no, definitely good, great game because Michigan still has a chance to. I mean, really, they have still a chance at the Big Ten. They definitely have a chance, like Michigan.
It's
State
open. It's wide open now.
Yeah. At the
the one thing that does kill me is that Ohio State's one loss is not in conference. That would have been big.
Still playing time.
Yeah, there's definitely
plenty of time to take it, plenty of time to lose it.
And honestly, like a consolation could still be the Rose Bowl, which still would be a pretty sick consolation, I think, for both our schools. Like, I wouldn't be too upset with a 2-loss season in a Rose Bowl appearance. So, I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
What else, guys? What other games?
So I know that you mentioned we have here A&M versus Ole Miss. That'll be a good one. I mean, A&M's coming off a really big win, and Ole Miss is trying to keep pace in the SEC West in the recruiting race too. So they had a good win this past week. Absolutely decimated Liberty. So that was the potential. That was the Lions' future quarterback bowl. And Ole Miss came out on top there.
No, that was the
Hope not.
No, we're really not drafting a quarterback. Is what that turned into. Yeah, you kind of feel bad for Willis because he didn't really get a real chance. Like from what I understand, there were times where he had to break 6 tackles just to get out of the pocket.
I think he threw 3 picks, didn't he?
Yeah, and one of them was pretty terrible, but like it was at the end of the game and he was just trying to do something. And then with Corral, Ole Miss was winning by so much that they ran the ball most of the time. I don't even think he threw for more than 20 times.
Yeah, and that's ideal. Yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of like it had so much hype and so much hope to look at these players as prospects, but I don't know that anyone came away with anything from that game, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is a pretty nice little slate here. I'm taking a look. We got
I've got one more game to add to it.
Yeah, go for it, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anybody know who Ohio State plays this week? EJ?
They go to Purdue. Do they play Purdue?
They don't go there, but it's Purdue.
It's Purdue. Yeah, I remember from
Purdue gets another top 5 team. Let's see if they can do it again.
Please do it again.
Yes,
that would be awesome.
We need to get a Boilermaker on this show. We need to get them to.
I am, all for that.
I am on board.
It's really a nice week because Thursday I didn't even realize it's Pitt, North Carolina. That should be a good game.
That's one of those things that Pitt can't, again, they're in the driver's seat. They had a big win against Duke to rebound. So now they got to keep it going.
Yeah. What else we got here?
And Purdue still isn't ranked, by the way.
See, they were ranked they were ranked in the
a couple weeks
last week.
Oh, were they?
So the committee, they've got to be like 26, 27, 28. I think they were just
they're the first out. They had 174 votes.
They're essentially a ranked team at that point, but
I mean, you're taking off 2 top 5 teams. Like that's huge. Give them 25. Come on.
I know, exactly. I think Oklahoma Baylor, even though Baylor lost, I mean, Oklahoma now being vaulted into the playoff conversation, they still have some tough games at Baylor and then eventually Bedlam at the end of the year. So this is a chance for Baylor to really play upset here to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma has to go to Waco, so this will really give us a good glance into Oklahoma with Caleb Williams, because I haven't really watched them since that Texas game. So, and they've played some easier games. So this will be a big one for Oklahoma.
This feels like one Oklahoma's going to lose. Baylor's coming off a loss here.
Yeah.
Baylor's in the CFP ranking, would be in the playoff right now. So it feels like they're going to lose.
So Oklahoma doesn't have an easy road though either. They've got Baylor, Iowa State, and then OSU
they will earn
and the
it.
Waterfall.
Yeah, they will earn it, and Baylor I think still has a chance potentially at the Big 12. So this still isn't meaningless for Baylor. So,
and a good late one, two good late ones. Wazoo goes to Oregon Saturday night at 10:30. At the same time, Nevada goes to San Diego State, and the Wolfpack's been pretty good this year. San Diego State is ranked. They're 20. We're 24. I don't know what they're going to be now, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
good slate from
Nevada with Carson Strong. They have the pro prospects, so you can't really ever count them out on offense. At least he's looked pretty good. Yeah. All right, guys. So why don't we talk about the trophy? So today we are talking about the Floyd of Rosedale trophy. This trophy is given between the winner of Iowa Hawkeyes and the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and I am just so thrilled. I'm going to be very disappointed if you guys aren't as excited at the end as I am, because
you're giddy. You're like moving around your
like Christmas morning.
Yeah.
This is the night before Christmas.
So this was originally when we had this idea of this podcast, and I was thinking about what we could do. And, if this would even be viable. This was the first game I researched just to see how much information I could find in general. And boy, did this get me excited. And then obviously it made sense to wait till now when the game is actually played to release this. But I'm very excited. So
this is EJ right now. This emoji.
Like
bashful with his hands up, like all excited.
Like I am the Jonah Hill meme from Get Him to the Greek when he's listening to the Mars Volta and he's going like, that's me right now. I'm excited for this. All right. So fun facts here. This is one of the older trophies. So I know we've had a stretch here of some trophies that were more in this millennia and since 2000. So
I think they've all been in this millennia. But
in this next thousand, right? It's not,
okay.
Everything's been in the 19.
Enough.
Yeah, give me a break here. This is
all right.
2000 is 1,000. This is the first. This is one more recently that is not in the 2000s. It's one of the older ones altogether. This debuted in 1935. So we're going back in time here, and this is also the third straight trophy that we've talked about that by circumstance that Iowa has been a part of, and this will be the last of the Iowa trophies. They had 4 total, and let me tell you, I think we saved the best for last. I think we did. All right, guys. So what's your first impressions of this wonderful trophy?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful.
Oh, that's a good looking boy right there.
Is it a boy?
Oh yeah. Well, whatever it is.
It is a boy.
Floyd's a boy.
Floyd's a boy. All right, guys. So why don't you talk about what you see? What's it look like?
It is okay. So there's a wooden base.
As they all have square.
As they all have
base.
It's a plaque adorned to it with M's and I's on it for Minnesota and Iowa. And then we have a nice husky boy, a big old pig, big old hog, right on top of the trophy there. And he has a scarf.
Like
this is a show pig, guys. This isn't just some farm pig.
It's a good looking pig.
This is a show pig.
I gotta say the haunches on this thing are freaking impressive. Got lovely floppy ears. It's what is this? Is it pewter? Some type of pewter EJ or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's a good looking trophy, man. It's
good size too. It's not too big where it's hard to carry on the field.
Bronze. It's a bronze pig trophy. Okay.
I will say that and a little fun fact here, it is 98 pounds.
Yeah.
So
holy cow.
While it's 21 inches long and 15 inches high, so it's not very big size wise, it's heavy, and And
Yeah,
players have
it's a
talked
thick
about
boy.
how it's a two-person trophy.
Look at this
Like,
fat boy. He's 73 or whatever. He's struggling to hold that thing up.
Yeah, need some
it's-
help there.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is a thick trophy. I love it. I am a big fan.
Yeah, it's cool. It's unique. It's not, a lot of them
It is
have that
unique.
square base where they're just kind of post something on top of it, which is that's exactly what this is, but it's a pig. It's a
It is a
full-grown
full
pig.
pig.
Yeah, it's got this like
That'll do, pig.
sash
That'll do.
blanket thing over it. Looks like that also. That's probably, I'm guessing, the first 10 or so
The
scores, maybe.
the results are probably etched on that little sash.
I mean, they had to
that's
move
on-
it down to the bottom where the MIs are. It looks like
Yeah.
each M and each I shows that's the score for that year.
And I can tell you guys, there was no controversy with any genitals in this trophy.
Okay.
He came neutered. There was no issues there.
Probably for the best.
Thank goodness.
All right, so let me talk to you guys about the history of the rivalry here. So the first matchup was in 1891, which has actually been a pretty common year, believe it or not. We've had a few trophies rivalry games that have started in 1891. And Minnesota won that first game 42-4. And then Minnesota went on to win the first 12 games of the series. So it started off real one-sided. Overall, the series, Minnesota leads the series 62 wins to 50 losses to 12 ties.
2 ties, right?
Or sorry, two ties, not 12 ties.
You're getting excited here.
I know.
I'm really excited.
I'm over the top here. So Iowa's won 16 of the last 20 matchups, including 5 in a row. So that's kind of how they evened it out. It was definitely Minnesota to begin with, Iowa more recently to even that out. And something that I thought was pretty cool, this game has been played every year since 1931.
That's awesome.
Without
That's
missing
very
a
cool.
year. Yeah. So even when the Big Ten had new members and they had to kind of jumble around the different divisions, and even before the Big Ten was started, like these two teams still played each other. And really, even before 1931, there was only a handful of years that they didn't play either. So they've played pretty consistently since
So are there
1991.
Do these plaques go all the way around all 4 sides? Because that's 90
Well,
matches.
there's some on the sash there too, right? So,
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes,
Maybe they take off the plaque, like the cup. Yeah,
because you can't. Yeah, you can't really add onto this thing when it's 98 pounds already.
No, yeah. So I do believe that it's on all 4 sides to scores.
That's cool.
So PJ Fleck has never hoisted Floyd, huh?
Maybe this year.
Yeah.
He is not. Yeah. So maybe this year, I guess we'll have to talk about that in our
Our
preview.
good
He did just get a new
Quarters, boy.
contract too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he
Mhm.
got
I think
extended.
7 years.
Sweet.
He's rowing
for
that
him.
boat in Minnesota for a little
Probably
bit longer.
Good idea on his part right before this last week.
Yeah, exactly. He
right.
got the extension
Yeah.
prior to.
All right, guys, just lose. It doesn't matter now.
All right. So this is very hard for me because I just want to jump straight into this history of this trophy.
That's what
But
she said.
I know Mike would probably quit the pod if we didn't do his favorite segment.
I
What's-
got to know what
what's
life is like
happening?
in 1935.
Or are we going
I have-
1891?
And it has been way too. Oh, is it 1891 or 1935?
We're gonna go when the trophy was implemented, which is 1935.
I know what life was like in 2011. The past couple weeks have been killing me. I've been around. I have no idea what life was like in 1935.
All right. So why don't I tell you some highlights? from
Please.
1935. Some positive
Please.
highlights. So Amelia Earhart became the first person to fly solo from Hawaii to California. That's pretty far, especially considering what she was probably flying in 1935.
Yeah.
Like
That's
a 5-hour flight.
that's gotta be very
nowadays.
nerve.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's longer then.
Yeah, that's gotta
Yeah.
be nerve wracking.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no one's coming to save you. No one's finding you. No one's coming to save you in that huge ocean. Like
yeah,
you go down and yeah, not looking good.
not looking good at all.
Staying on this airplane theme here. So airplanes were actually banned from flying over the White House in 1935. So we know
Oh.
that nowadays, but that was when that was implemented.
Didn't take long to figure out that might be a risk.
No.
Yeah,
Airplanes, and they shouldn't be flying over the White House.
yeah.
Okay, so the first nighttime Major League Baseball game was played in
Oh,
1935.
Between
You-
whomst?
Can you guys tell me the two teams? They are currently still teams currently both in the NL.
I'm
You got
gonna
any-
say the Pittsburgh Pirates because a lot of these facts have dealt with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
They have, but not this one.
Okay.
I guess not.
No hints?
Same division. both
same
of them.
division. Probably
the-
the NL
So the NL Central.
East. Oh, is it the Central?
One's in the East, one's in the Central. Anyone?
You got nothing.
Bueller, Mike. You got a
I'm
check-
gonna
you got a
say
check?
the
You got anything?
Cubs.
Okay. And what's your other guess? What's your NL East?
I don't know.
Very historic city. Very important to America.
Oh, DC or Philly.
Phillies.
There you go.
There
So
you
the
go.
Phillies were one, but they were at Cincinnati. So the first night game was played
Oh, okay.
at Crossley Field in Cincinnati, which I thought
Oh,
was kind
cool.
of interesting.
Very nice.
Yeah, and the Cubs didn't have a night game until like 2005 when they put.
Well, no,
remember
I
that-
figured that they were playing.
Oh, they
but
were
I-
the road
yeah,
team.
They,
Okay.
yeah, they would have been the road.
It'd be
team,
the the way
That's
team.
fair. All right. So Alcoholics Anonymous was founded in Akron, Ohio by Bill W., who is William G. Wilson. He just went by Bill W. because it's anonymous.
Well, it shouldn't be
And-
going by that even. Be going by Joe.
Yeah, there you go.
And Dr. Bob, and that was Dr. Bob Smith. So those two.
This is not anonymous at all. We know exactly who they are.
So yeah, that started in Akron, Ohio. I actually had no idea. I mean, I guess I didn't really think about where it was started, but that started in 1935. The U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt dedicates the Hoover Dam in 1935 as well. And the Detroit Tigers defeated the Chicago Cubs 4 games to 2 to win their first
No more breakfast shots for you.
World Series title.
Well,
must
EJ was
have
very
been-
excited about that Tigers and that
Yeah.
Tigers World Series win.
I mean, that would have been Jack Morris. Was that his?
No.
Was he 60s?
I don't know.
Yeah, I
Oh.
can't think about who would have been on that team that I can think of. And then the last one, which was kind of relevant to us here in Virginia, the Shenandoah National Park was established in 1935.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I
Lovely.
mean, it was still there before. They just named it.
Right. We're gonna put some trees here
Yeah.
and let's
Put a
make
sign
a
up.
mountain over there and
Here, we'll charge you to get in.
yeah, right.
Actually, I don't know if they charge.
They do.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
An old.
I've never
rag
been.
Sucks.
Oh man, old rag does stink. It's gosh, yeah, we went for my 30th birthday, and I mean, we love the national parks. Old rag actually now would be a great time to go to Shenandoah because it's Skyline Drive is what it is, just a long road across one of the major ridges in the park. And it would be great because there's plenty of areas to stop off, and right now with the colors it would be fantastic. But old rag, I mean, it's something good to do once, but
Yeah.
it's a long hike. It's about
Yeah, it's long. It takes a while. You have to walk through like a dirt path. Like it takes a while
It's
to
a
actually
fire road.
get.
to
fire
get
road.
there. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
well, no, at the end,
At the
after
end,
old
yeah.
rag, when you come down, then you have a 3-mile walk down the fire
Oof.
road.
Yeah.
And it's just because you're done. Like you're done hiking. You're walking on a fire road just to get back to your car. It's like, gosh, I could really use like a little buggy to just take me.
And
the
then
rest of the
just
way.
even going up the hill, just like it kind of just, you go diagonally through the forest, but there
Switchbacks,
isn't any
yeah.
like good views. There is eventually, but like there isn't like consistent views throughout, which was disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. I was fine to do it once, but I'm fine to also never go back. So
Sure. Okay, why don't we get to the main attraction here? The game, the trophy. Here it is. But the story starts a year before in 1934. So the 1934 game between the Hawkeyes and the Gophers had been filled with controversy over the treatment of Iowa's star running back Ozzie Simmons. So Simmons was one of the few black football players of that era, and he endured several rough hits, late hits by the Gophers that forced him to leave the game multiple times. And that was in a Minnesota victory, which was 48-12.
Was this like a race thing, or was it he's the best player, let's just try and hurt him? Or is it not unknown?
So for the coaches and the Iowa players and coaches, they thought the late hits had a racial undertones to them.
Okay.
So following the game, Simmons talked to the reporters about why he was knocked out of the game so many times. And what he said in quotes, what it amounted to was that they were piling on late hits. I had bruised ribs. They came at me with high knees, some of it pretty obvious. So it seemed like it was definitely star player like hits to really knock him out of the game. And then the fact that he was one of the few black players in all of college football at the time, that's what Iowa players and coaches thought. It was a little bit more than just that.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was the 1934 game. So the following year, the Gophers were 5-0 and the Hawkeyes were 4-0-1. So it was a huge matchup again. But before the 1935 game, which was going to be held in Iowa City, Minnesota's coach at the time, Bernie Bierman, fantastic name.
That's a great name.
He received a ton of threatening letters from Iowa fans, so much so that he requested and received special police protection for himself and the team as they were going into Iowa City.
I wonder if that's how the police escort started for coaches.
Oh,
Maybe.
yeah. It has to be. Dude, threats.
From just
Yeah.
crazy.
We
crazy
were watching the other
fans.
day, and I don't know which game it was, but the state troopers or whoever were escorting the coach, and Anna is like, "Why do they have police there?" And I was like, "Just security." I mean,
It can be sketchy. I know with like the Spartans just watching, because obviously Purdue's fans all rushed the field. I mean, they were surrounded. I mean, nothing happened, of course. Like people didn't bother them, but I mean, that situation can get.
who wants to mess with
nasty.
Mel Tucker? Like, he's not someone I'm gonna go up to and try and mess with, but
That is very true. So the day before the game, so you had this threatening letter to the Minnesota coach. So the day before the game, Iowa's governor at the time, which was Clyde L. Herring, he told reporters, quotes, "If the officials stand for any rough tactics like Minnesota used last year, I'm sure the crowd won't," end quotes.
wow.
So
Whoa.
Yeah. So following the statement, Simmons hearing what the governor had said, this is what Simmons had to say, quote, what he was saying was, if you treat Ozzie like you treated him last year, we're coming out of the stands, end quote. So
Wow.
the tensions were very, very, very high.
I'll say.
So the news quickly reached Minnesota, and Coach Bierman threatened to break off athletic relations.
Bernie.
Bernie was not having it.
Yeah.
Why would you, right?
Sure.
And so the Minnesota Attorney General at the time, which was Harry H. Peterson, practically accused the Iowa governor of thuggery. So what he said was
of thuggery.
Thuggery, like
I get it. I love it. I just it's not something you hear every day.
I didn't think that was the
fits.
word that they would have used.
Thuggery.
This
Yeah.
was what they used, thuggery. They weren't holding back. So he says in his quote, "Your remark that the crowd at Iowa Minnesota game will not stand for any rough tactics is calculated to incite a riot. It is a breach of your duty as governor and evidences an unsportsmanlike, cowardly, contemptible frame of mind." So this is just like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And it's like getting like the political and governments involved and the police and
Yeah, tensions high. So Floyd to the rescue, of course. So
Yeah. How does this pig save the day? That's what I want to know.
bacon.
So the tensions were riding high, to say the least. So to lighten the mood, the Minnesota governor, Floyd Olson, sent a telegram to Governor Herring on game day morning. And this is what it read. Hashtag quotation mark. Hashtag.
Well, they were way before their time.
The telegrams back then, so quotation.
Hashtag thug.
Dear Clyde. Also, how awesome is it? Floyd and Clyde are the governors at the time. I mean, that's pretty awesome as well. So dear Clyde, Minnesota folks, excited over your statement about the Iowa crowd lynching the Minnesota football team. I have assured them that you are a law-abiding gentleman and are only trying to get our goat. The Minnesota team will tackle clean, but oh, how hard, Clyde. If you seriously think Iowa has any chance to win, I will bet you a Minnesota prize hog against an Iowa prize hog that Minnesota wins today. The loser must deliver the hog in person to the winner. Accept my bet through a reporter. You are getting odds because Minnesota raises better hogs than Iowa. My best personal regards and condolences.
Just throwing down the gauntlet with the hogs.
So
Like,
yeah, if I'm asked, do you want a hog from Minnesota or do you want a hog from Iowa?
It's
Not going to be Minnesota.
no, I'm taking an Iowa hog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
7
apparently
days
you
a
guys
week
are
and
wrong.
twice on Sunday. And what just the fact that like that's how we were measuring ourselves as like states back then is like what kind of hogs are we
You got good
producing?
hogs?
Yeah, right.
Got the best hogs.
Hey man, that was pride, that especially in
Oh,
those
yeah.
area of
It might
America.
still be how they measure pride.
Imagine like a gubernatorial race back then. Like, okay, Governor Floyd or candidate Floyd, tell us about the hog feeding program that you plan to instill.
Honestly, that's probably what happened. So the Iowa governor accepted, and word of the bet reached Iowa City as the crowd gathered at the stadium. Ultimately, things calmed down and the game went on without incident. Thank goodness. Minnesota won the game 13-6, and the Iowa star Ozzie Simmons played an injury-free game. And afterwards, the Minnesota players went out of their way to compliment Simmons, and Simmons praised the Gophers for their clean, hard-fought play. And then Minnesota ended up going on that season to win their second straight national championship.
Sky Yuma, row the boat, go Gophers.
So Governor Herring obtained an award-winning prize pig, which had been donated by Alan Loomis, the owner of Rosedale Farms, which was near Fort Dodge, Iowa. Dubbed Floyd after Minnesota Governor Olson.
Named a pig after him.
And this pig was the brother of Blue Boy, who won Best Pig.
Oh,
in the
Blue Boy.
19
Yeah, Blue Boy. Okay.
He won Best Pig in
Wow.
1933 State Fair. So this was the brother
Yeah.
of the Best
Yeah.
Pig.
Wow. Blue Boy. Yeah. Who can forget?
Listen, I know. So a few days later, Governor Herring collected Floyd of Rosedale and personally walked him into Governor Olson's carpeted office.
Like with a leash?
I guess so.
I mean, this pig comes from good stock. It probably didn't
Yes.
even need a leash. Just,
No.
walk him right on in.
He was used to those shows. So how heavy do you think Floyd was, the original pig?
I'm going to say 98 pounds.
Joe?
It would, yeah, that's what I was gonna guess too. It makes sense.
200 pounds.
Oh, he's a big boy.
Why is it 98 then?
Because you
That's a-
really want players trying to carry a 200 pounds.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Wouldn't
that's
get
just
stolen.
Or do two trophies that are each 100.
that actually would be kind of cool. Yeah. So no, Floyd was a big pig, and that he was
Yeah,
walked
I'll
into
say.
to the governor's carpeted office. is how he was delivered. So a couple of quick fun facts here too. So President Roosevelt's former son-in-law, Curtis Dahl, attended the 1935 game as a guest of the governors, naturally. And he suggested that they name the pig New Deal because of obviously Roosevelt
right.
at the time. Herring vetoed that proposal.
Now we're gonna go with Floyd.
Yeah. Trying to stick in the stupid governor's face. He took, not only did he get the win, he took a pig off me. And we didn't get to lynch anybody. Son of a.
Oof.
Nope. So Floyd's original name was Hawkeye Honor. That was his show name until he was named Floyd of Rosedale.
I
So-
mean, imagine if we still settled things between nations. Like, do you ever think that maybe,
Or like racial things against like people? Could you imagine like
oh my gosh,
that was a way to ease racial
You
tensions?
guys got
was-
good pigs.
yeah, AOC just reached out to Ted Cruz like, hey, if this bill gets passed, you owe me a Texas hog, and I'll give you a fine New York City hog.
a lot of New York City hogs.
We just learned earlier today that Yunkin is worth like 400 mil.
Really?
Probably got some good hogs.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Oh,
Yeah.
somewhere in the heart of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so kind of the aftermath. So that was after the game. So since the two schools could not continue wagering a live pig, Governor Olson commissioned St. Paul sculptor Charles Broski. It's the best way I can pronounce
Broski.
this. Yeah, to capture Floyd's image. So Iowa and Minnesota have played for the Floyd of Rosedale trophy ever since then. So 1936 was the first time that the actual trophy happened. So 35, he knew they didn't try to keep this live pig wager going.
They should
smartly.
That's a mistake. We need to be trading pigs back and forth here.
So Governor Olson later offered Floyd up as a grand prize in a statewide essay writing contest, which was won by a 14-year-old named Robert Jones. And Jones then sold the hog back to the University of Minnesota for $50. And then the Jerdrum family of Southeast Minnesota bought Floyd of Rosedale back from the University of Minnesota for $50 as well. And unfortunately, there was a wave of cholera infecting livestock throughout the countryside in the summer of 1936. And the Jerdrums attempted to vaccinate all of their hogs, but Floyd somehow missed his shot and died just 8 months after making the headlines.
Folks, lesson learned. Get your shots.
Aaron Rodgers, if you're listening to this, you know what
Could
to do.
be you, Aaron.
You don't want cholera. So Floyd is buried next to a clump of spruce trees outside of Mabel, Minnesota, located just 6 miles north of the Iowa border, near where he was originally held at Rosedale Farm.
That's beautiful.
And so the story continues. So naturally, you need Floyd to be memorialized. So in July 2021, this story took an awesome turn. So Dave Flattery, who is a councilman from Dodge City, so that's where the farm was located, the Rosedale farm originally, that gave the pig to the governor. He came up with an idea to memorialize the iconic symbol. So after raising $225,000 for a project, it was announced that a 14-foot steel pig structure would be placed in the area where Rosedale Farm once stood.
Why?
And so Flattery said of the memorial, it's a lighthearted story how two governors resolved this racial issue just with a pig. I wish we could resolve things like that today.
I would be
with pork.
Freaking heated if my tax dollars were going to a 14-foot tall pig.
Well,
I think
was it tax dollars or was it donations? You said
no,
raised.
It was
donations.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was not.
Okay.
It was not
my
tax dollars.
mistake. Okay. Well, I would donate to that.
So if you scroll down, so I couldn't find pictures of the statue at the actual spot. So the first
oh
one
my gosh,
is the statue. The second part is where he will be, or is probably now. But this is very new. Just this summer is when I came up with this.
Looking at this empty Floyd of Rosedale thing reminds me of like the outside Penn State when they took down Paterno's statue. It's kind of what it reminds me of. But
Like
this is an awesome looking statue here. This is really cool.
So it's like one of those like metal artwork kind of style. I don't know what you call it, but
there's like layers to it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like
it's definitely more modernized type art.
Yeah, it's cool.
Than just like the trophy itself, which is just a pig. This looks more contemporary or whatever modern.
Yeah, kind of like steampunk look.
Yeah.
But it's bolted to this trailer. Is that just for transport, I assume? And then they're gonna bolt it to the ground where that memorial is?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's cool. It's still a little surprised that it cost $225K, but
yeah.
Huh.
it was not cheap.
I mean, yeah. What's it made of?
Steel.
Yeah, it seems a little expensive.
That's cool, man.
Maybe wood these days would cost that much, but
yeah, right.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. So this is the end. This is the end of the story. I mean, I don't think we need to go through the rankings. I think I can probably give you guys all fives, but just for the listeners, I guess we can just like talk through it. So just for the listeners to remind you, we're ranking on a scale of 1 to 5 for looks, 1 to 5 for history, 1 to 5 for the rivalry, and then overall, whether it's a bottom, middle, or top tier. Why don't we start with Mike? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you gave yours, right, pal? Like you're doing 5s across the board here.
I'm doing a 5-5-4, but I can explain later.
Yeah, and well, no, please go ahead. This your most excited one, so
All right.
you're
Well, yeah,
pumped
let
for
us have
this,
it.
so yeah, go for it.
Looks.
Give the
Buddy.
people what they want.
Yeah,
Looks. I mean, it's a pig. It's a show pig. I think that's so unique. I've talked about this over the pod that I really put value in uniqueness, and I don't know if you can get any more unique than a pig. And it weighs 98 pounds, so it's not just like a dainty trophy. It's a hefty boy, similar to what Floyd was. So I think it's a 5. The history, I mean, the fact that a pig saved, potential mayhem at this next game, and really eased racial tensions between these schools that were going to continue to see each other for decades later. And the fact that they were just able to come to a resolution, I thought that was pretty cool, and a pretty cool idea with the pig again. And the rivalry itself, I put as a 4, just because it is very evenly matched, and it has been played since every year since 1931. And I don't know that there's there's only a handful of the rivalries that we talked about on this pod that have that kind of history. So for me, it's a top tier, pretty easily. A 5 and the rivalry would be if typically I wouldn't catch a Minnesota Iowa game, because they neither have been good at the same time. But again, I just think the longevity of the rivalry and how close it's been overall is what puts it at a 4 to me, in a top tier.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing I wanted to know too is so the scarf that's draped over the back of the pig, we guessed at it, but I assume we were right that it does have the scores from the original games on there. Is that the case, or?
It looks like it does.
It looks like it. I can't say for certain.
Yeah, it looks like it does, because it says M on the left. I'm looking at the one where it's in the case, with the school photos behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's got an M at the top on the left, and I on the right, and it looks like it's just it's actual scores. It says,
oh yeah. If you
27, 3, 14, something. Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
that must be the
year
first.
in the middle. The year in the middle. Yeah. So is that just a thing that they do for pigs? Just for show pigs have little something draped over them?
They have a garment similar
scarves?
to similar to a horse and stuff. They have.
I've not seen that. That's awesome. That's cool.
All right, Mike, so why don't you hit us next with your
looks, it's definitely a 5. It's a big boy. It's a big hefty boy. I love it, man. It's like you said, it's super unique. It's cool. It's a fun thing to carry across the field too, so that's awesome. Definitely a 5 for me. History, yeah, I agree, it's a 5. Anytime you can imagine, like I said, just imagine being able to solve issues like that with it's something as simple as a pig. That's incredible. So yeah, that's a 5 as well. The rivalry, I do like that it's been played for so long. That's fantastic. I know that they're not as close. They've both been good at different times, but I don't know. I still feel like this is a really important game in the Big Ten West, right? So every year, year in, year out. So, I mean, given the longevity of it and the fact that, if Minnesota didn't just lose to Illinois, that's kind of coloring my opinion right now.
Well, and then Iowa's lost.
Yeah, right. True. So I'm gonna go with a 4 too. So I'm just gonna chase you on this one, man. 5.54 with a high for me. That was awesome. That was really, really cool.
Joe?
Yeah, so I'm scrolling through right now. I don't see. I just googled show pigs, and I'm looking at all the images. I don't see any with this weird scarf thing. I think it was just made for this trophy.
Maybe.
Which would that's still cool.
Did you look at 1930 show pigs?
I will. But I actually wrote down mine a few minutes ago before we started going over them, and I have the exact same. I have looks 5, the 200-pound pig up on a podium. I got history. I have a 5. I do like the meaning that it did help with the racial tension. I don't know it necessarily solved any racial problems in Minnesota, as you can probably see. There's still issues, but I do like that it was kind of going in the right direction. Rivalry,
especially in 1935. It was
completely different back then.
Yeah.
And then for rivalry, I have 4. It's close, but like EJ said, it's not a game that I'm really looking to tune into. If they were both top 10 teams, sure, I'd be all over it, but I don't think either of them are there right now at this point in time. So
sure.
Overall, I have it as a high. I think it's pretty sweet.
This is the first time we've been consistent across the board. And
My-
this is also our
my
highest.
heart is so full right now because I have been so excited and I was really hoping that my excitement just wasn't in my head. And I'm glad that you guys also equally saw.
No, I mean, that's cool, man. I dig it a lot. And kudos to the good folks of Iowa and Minnesota that they're able to just be like, all right, well, I guess we're cool now. We're gonna be playing for a pig. All right, that sounds good. Like,
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool how like it made it seem like the way the next year was played, that Minnesota's team didn't have hate in their heart for him because they were able to like come together and say, listen, he's a really great player. And like, because they didn't have to, you know,
Yeah.
obviously, like, especially at that time, there was
it
no
shouldn't matter
cancel
if he's a great
culture.
player.
Right.
Like-
Well, I just mean like the fact it seemed like maybe those hits following what they said after the game, the second game, maybe those hits that first game wasn't racially, or at least if it was, they hopefully, you know, rethought. I don't know. It just seemed like it was pretty cool after that the first game. that
yeah, for the
trophy was there.
Minnesota players to
Just
commend
acknowledge it, 'cause they didn't
Simmons
have to, right?
and
If you're a
Simmons to be
racist-
like they
Right.
played well.
You
Yeah,
didn't have to do that.
yeah,
So, and one thing like that I kind of alluded to this before, it's like when you're playing a good team or you're playing a rival, you're playing someone who you're not expected to beat, like you're not necessarily, I mean, you're if the other team's best player got hurt, are you going to be upset?
No.
So if you can
Yeah.
get that extra late hit or whatever, like it's worth a flag, sure. But that's why I wanted to, I don't know. We'll probably never know if it was actually racially motivated,
Right.
but at this point, like in the 1930s, you can probably safe to assume.
yeah.
And it was just good on Minnesota after like Iowa voiced their opinion on it, that then that didn't continue, right? Because they
Yeah.
could have just continued.
get it
'cause
all-
he
air it
still
all
was a
out.
star player. They could have continued to do exactly what, you know, that they did the previous year, but they didn't. So
yeah.
yeah. All right. So why don't we do a preview of the game? So this is going to be, actually, I didn't even look to update this, but did both teams win this last weekend, or were they on buys?
Minnesota lost.
Minnesota lost to Illinois.
So you have a 6-3 unranked 6-3 Minnesota
Iowa won.
going to a 7-2, probably going to be ranked 20th, 19. Iowa.
Iowa, I had it up. Hold on, let me look. Iowa is 19.
Okay, yeah. So you have unranked, barely unranked Gophers playing the 19th overall Hawkeyes, and I believe between Purdue, Minnesota, and Iowa, there's kind of a round robin-esque thing going on for the West. So this is still very important for both schools here. So what do you guys got for your predictions?
I
think it's gonna be close, but I think Iowa's gonna win this one.
you do.
Yeah.
You think
I think
Iowa?
they're kind of they've got to bounce back. They just
Depends which Iowa team shows up. Man.
Yeah.
Like if their offense just lays in. Oh, it depends which Minnesota team shows up too.
Yeah.
For that respect.
want
I
to
know
play
they've
Bowling
had a lot
Green.
of- yeah. I mean, it's I guess we'll see. I really, really would love to see PJ holding that damn pig, hoisting it on his shoulders. See, and that I do wish that we could keep a live pig as part of that, because how great would it be to see our bald Q-zip boy
sprinting down the field with a pig.
sprinting down, yeah, just booking it with this pig just galloping behind him. That would be
So yeah, so last week Iowa they won 17-12 against Northwestern, and very similarly, well, close game. Minnesota lost to Illinois 14-6. So both close games, both crappy teams.
All right. So Joe, you think that
I think
the
Iowa
Hawkeyes get it done at
I think
home?
Iowa, but like 3.
Okay. Mike, what do you think?
is there a spread on this yet?
Don't know. I
Not
didn't look.
yet. No. I mean, my heart wants Minnesota, but my head thinks Iowa's probably going to win a close one. I think it's going to be
Okay.
close. I think it's going to be low scoring. And this is after 3:30
Yep.
in Iowa. So yeah, Iowa's going to probably take it home. I think it'll be close though.
I will never pick
5.5.
I will never pick Iowa again. I'm going the Gophers. I think Iowa still has looked not great, and Fleck will want to rebound after that embarrassing loss against
True.
Illinois.
True.
Yeah, Iowa's 5.5 point favorites right now.
I am definitely taking Minnesota for that, for sure.
Good teams win, great teams cover.
Yeah. And Mike, you had mentioned this game is on at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this will be
Big Ten Network.
Big Ten Network. Yep.
Mhm.
So check it out. I'm definitely gonna be watching this game.
The over-under's 37.
That's about right.
that seems right.
Yep.
And I am really looking forward to seeing Floyd, and hopefully,
Yeah,
at least
I am
better
definitely
show
gonna
him.
watch. Yeah, see this thing. I mean, who the hell's gonna carry him? Who's the big
Fleck
10
isn't
side?
doing this. Yeah,
Oh, I think PJ Fleck could get that trophy up. You kidding me?
I don't know.
If he wins, he will. Yeah, he'll get that thing up.
Yeah,
We'll see. I feel like the trophy's
he's
about the
busting
size
out
that
those
he
four
is.
zips, dude. He is felt.
He'll get it up. It's
Yeah,
100 pounds.
yeah, no problem.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. So follow us on Instagram at whiskers.whiskies, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to check out our Saturday morning betting posts. And please send us your favorite bets for the weekend. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. We got 3 more weeks here, and then it's bowl season. Let's get some wins. Let's build that bank account for bowl season and for championship week
Yes.
too.
So join us next week when we talk about 2 trophies: the Freedom Trophy and the Land Grant Trophy. So for Mike and Joe, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough.
Cheers, boys.